Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the brief on July 20th, a Monday. Go ahead and review everything for the podcast. Still on 29 episodes. Picked up a few more downloads this weekend, 1033, but I did take a couple of days off, so I will get back to it. I saw if you chart all the downloads, you can see a noticeable, if there's not a new episode out, obviously that hits a new you only pick up a few downloads there. So I'll get right back on that today. So we will be on track. All right. As far as for the folks that are new to the room, or if you're watching this on review, again, we're going to cover everything fighter pilot style down through the opening brief, and then wrap everything up with Q&A at the end. Make sure, though, if you have your chat room open, you have all panelists and attendees selected. As far as our mission objectives, it's going to be to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. The tactical objectives today, we're going to talk about the gambling stocks that are out there and get into some detail of how they came about and why they're so hot right now. And then, of course, the academic topic of the day will be online gambling. Again, as investors, we don't look to partake of gambling. We would rather invest with our money, and we'll talk about the difference when we get to the Q&A. But we do want to take advantage of the large portion of the population that is looking to gamble their money away with the companies that are out there. So we get a little piece of that as far as investing. Our overall flow will be long, short, open, short, long, which means we're going to talk long-term investment stuff. Within 10 minutes of the open, we're going to talk short-term investing, and then we're going to go back to long-term investing, which is, again, far more important. But to start off with, we will do a full market review of around the world where the markets have been this weekend, as well as last week. Then we'll do a headline review of the day. And then we'll start with our long-term investments. There's the 6 names that we'll be talking about. The first 4 individual stocks, one of which was bought by the other. So I'll cover how that went down. And then we have 2 ETFs. They're BETS and BJK, standing for Blackjack, as the 2 sports gambling or the 2 gambling ETFs, so you can participate in with little different flavors there. Okay, we'll get into the execution. As far as you have any contingencies this morning, reach out to Steve at ototnow.com, and you'll be answered right away. As well as our standard disclaimer, this is an educational presentation, so you have to do your own due diligence before acting on any information you hear in the presentation. All right, let's go up to Think Pipes. We'll take a look at the market review. Here's where we've been. This is the S&P 500, commonly known as the SPY, is the index fund that covers it. Big run up, obviously. February, we had the sell-off 35% in a month, fastest in history, down to the March 23rd lows. Pretty well a V-shaped recovery since then, with a couple of hiccups along the way. What you see, those 2 lines, those are AI-generated trend lines, which shows that we're still in an uptrend. Even including now, we're kind of hanging right along that bottom trend. Obviously, that won't last forever, but it certainly has held all the way up to the 321 level. When you think resistance, there's now a new floor at that 300 level. So you would expect if the market came down to that level, it's probably going to bounce and go back higher. However, if it breaks through that level, then all the bets are off, and you can see some massive selling if we go below 300, which equates to approximately 3,000 in the S&P. So pretty significant move down if we were to touch that again. But that's what I want to show you there. Let's go to the last 5 days of trading. This is a review of last week, where you have the dark blue or the open trading hours, while the light blue are after hours. You can see that basically Monday, we had that big down move Monday, and we spent the rest of the week kind of catching back up to where we were. This is the S&P 500. The Dow was a little better last week. Again, thinking value investing, big cap. The Dow was at the end of the week up 2.3%. So we shall see. Last week was kind of a rotation to the bigger firms, and before that it had been all tech. And so far today, it's showing up as a tech-centric, with the NASDAQ up a little more than the others. All right, let's take a look at the earnings calendar. A couple of significant names. Halliburton this morning is out. We'll talk about them in the headline review. And then IBM is after the close today, is kind of the first big, I call them old tech, the first big firm out there, if you will, that has earnings. So it'll be very interesting to see how they do. Halliburton, they beat their earnings, meaning they lost less money than they thought they were going to lose, but they guided down significantly. So we'll see how the stock is reacting. Okay, let's switch over to the headline review. I'm going to show you CNBC. You can see that all three futures are in the green once the screen comes up there, so that's pretty nice. Let's take a look around the world at Europe. All right, Europe basically split across the board. When you check Asia, look at China's jump in their stock market, 3% higher. So pretty strong move there. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more of an uptick on our the U.S. market based off of that, but we shall see. Okay, we'll go to Friday's numbers. Here they are, and again, about even for the week as far as the S&P and the NASDAQ. The Dow was up some, but nothing notable other than the VIX was down at 26, so pretty low on the VIX, especially with the election, 3+ months out. All right, bonds had a small uptick. Not showing uptick now. It was an uptick in the 10-year, but holding right at that 0.6%, which is just ridiculously low and unhealthy. Oil, just right above 40, hanging at the lower end of the range there. And then the precious metals, again, a little of an uptick there. Silver up over 20 now, so pretty significant move. If you remember back in, going off of memory, it's like 2012 or so, silver was up at $34. It's the highest I remember. So kind of crazy how far it's come down, but at least it's on a way back higher. And again, that's my favorite. I favor silver over gold if you're going to put some precious metals in your portfolio. Okay, we're going to go around for the headline review. Okay, yep, last week's gains, that was mostly in the Dow, so we shall see how this week turns out. Disney cutting Facebook ad spend, so I think it was $200 million that Disney spends annually on Facebook ads, and they're cutting that to zero, along with several others right now that are cutting their ad spend with Facebook, while Facebook kind of deals with with their messaging and what they are going to go in and censor, if you will. So I mean, that's a hard problem for them to tackle. I don't feel sorry for them, but you're going to upset somebody no matter what you do in that situation. But from a numbers perspective, it is their largest ad spend. So we'll see. Facebook also got an upgrade on their stock today. And of course, Facebook is kind of a juggernaut anyway. So we'll see if it even affects them. Okay, obviously, Florida has been a hotbed of the new coronavirus cases. You have the, I can't remember whose quote that was. It was a Democratic Congresswoman, I believe, that said that we need to close down Florida and that the governor's not doing enough. Obviously, I have a Republican governor down there, so could be more political than anything else. We shall see. Huge oil merger there on the right. Chevron picked up Noble Energy, so it's kind of the first big move since the oil crash. Remember, oil went to zero. The futures did anyway there for a while. So kind of big moves there. And we lost Chesapeake and Occidental, I think, both went bankrupt. So starting to see some of the carnage from that, expecting no better players instead of going bankrupt or simply going to get bought. Nikola is a name we talk about fairly regularly. If you remember Friday, they had that big stock issuance. So another 54 million shares, I think, which is a ridiculous amount of money. So everybody's a little ticked off at being diluted there, because your fractional ownership, obviously it's diluted when all these other shares come in. So it's hanging out down around $40. So that's not good. So I'm going to take a look at whether that needs to be in portfolios today. All right, JP Morgan did downgrade Moderna, even though there's lots of positive news up out there. But yeah, it's after a 380% rally. So they're saying the stock has got in front of itself, that it should be downgraded. So you don't just continue to buy into the run up there, which makes sense. Starbucks getting some love. Amazon 3,800 is the new target. Amazon had a rough week last week. So again, down 7% off of, got up to above 3,000 and then sold off to 2,962 last week. And I expect that to turn around and go back higher. So we shall see. All right, there's that Amazon price target we talked about. Trump going back and forth with Fauci. It's kind of entertaining to watch. Mobileye and Ford signed a deal on next generation driving technology. I did see a video this weekend, because since I don't have a Tesla and I don't understand the auto driving feature of the Tesla, I watched a video which showed a Tesla the SUV, it's at the Model X, I think, is going down I-5, Interstate 5 in California, and it said, the driver's says, this is 30 minutes of me not touching the steering wheel, which is a little bit crazy for me as a pilot, as well as an old person that doesn't necessarily want to trust my life to technology completely. But yeah, so interesting. I did not realize it had come that far. All right, let's see what else. Delta is in the news. They're basically trying to get people to, just like the other companies have, they're a little bit behind the other airlines have, is trying to get their employees to take early retirements and voluntary layoffs and a voluntary cut in pay to avoid a furlough. So we shall see. All right, and then Ant Financial, you see in the one bottom there, is they're a spinoff of Alibaba. They are planning their IPO. So Alibaba's up like 4% today pre-market because of that, because they stand to gain from spinning those folks off. All right, that's all I have for the headline review. Let's go over to, we're going to talk DraftKings real quick before we leave this screen. And then we'll get into our gaming stock. So I want to show you DraftKings here. Remember, DraftKings was a special purpose acquisition company before this called Diamond Eagle, which is in blank, they call them blank check companies. I've been hearing that too. Company that was stood up basically to acquire something and take it public. Obviously that worked, and there's the chart. We'll take a look at a zoomed in version on the right there. When you look at some interesting things from this chart, no dividend, obviously, since it's growing. Short floats around 9%, so that can help things go higher. I do think it does go higher here. Obviously, it went down below 30 after being above 40. So it's on the march back up, and then there was some big news this weekend, which I'll share when I'm on the other chart there. So performance in the year to date up 230%. Didn't quite catch all of that. I came into it, I want to say, in February or so, and started loading folks up. But still a pretty impressive move all around. Okay, and then picked up some after the crash. So that's where the entry point for some folks was pretty epic during that 11 to 13 time frame. All right, let's go over to Schwab Street Smart Edge, and we'll take a look at all 6 of the names we have here. Okay, DraftKings is the upper one on the upper left. Again, it came out of the SPAC in April 26th, maybe, something like that. And that's when it started trading under its own ticker. Obviously had the run up to 45 down to 30, which is a 50% sell-off. Sold some, just kind of trimmed, but basically it's a long-term hold. The other names that are in the space, LCA, that's a new one. That's at Lancadia Holdings. That is another special purpose acquisition company that I'm in on early before it changes its official ticker through an IPO for Golden Nugget Online Gaming. They have settled on the name this weekend, which will be GNOG. And we shall see. The big thing that had moved DraftKings this weekend, and LCA is also up like 10% this weekend as well, is because they were moved into the ETFs. BETS is lower left. That's the one that is really focused on the internet gaming aspect of it. And then Blackjack on the right is all things casino, obviously, which the online gaming is a portion of. But into BETS, let's see, BETS now has a 5% holding of DraftKings. They bought in some LCA. I don't remember exactly how much, but significant amount. So PDYPY, that is Flutter Entertainment, is who that is. But the reason they're up there is because that's who bought FanDuel. So if you think of the big names in the online space as far as competitive fantasy football stuff, it's DraftKings and FanDuel. Well, FanDuel's buried away in Flutter Entertainment. Obviously, stock has been doing well. And also, if you remember back in the day of PokerStars, if you happen to know this offhand, I had to look it up. Put whatever you think the date is for remember the day that PokerStars went away and Full Tilt, and they locked them all out, and everybody went, oops, how much did I have actually sitting in that account? If you remember the date, put it into to the left. Also, if you remember the Justin Timberlake movie that came out 2 years later that kind of covered that whole situation, I thought it was a good movie. Had Ben Affleck in it, so a good movie despite having Ben Affleck in it, I guess would say. If you can remember the name of that, put it up in the comments there, and I will talk about those in a second. But Poker Stars, the TSG, the one middle right, not bad. TSG off to the right is the Stars Group, and it doesn't trade anymore. If you look down at the bottom, it's mid-May or so. It just got bought by Flutter Entertainment. So Poker Stars, Full Tilt, there's several other of the original, if you will, the online gaming firms that were out there have been bought by Flutter Entertainment. So that's actually not trading actively right now. Okay, let's see what other notes I have. All right. Pretty close on your guess there. July 1st of 2012. It was actually a tax day, 2011. So April 15th, 2011 is when that came out. And the movie that came out 2 years after that talked about online gaming, because they all went away. Everybody lost their money if you had money in that. I never did touch Poker Stars or Full Tilt. The only online stuff I did was back in 2003 with Bodog, because I didn't want to compete with the poker players. I wanted to compete with the football gamblers that were being bored on the side, and that was Bodog was more of a football site. So anyhow, I do remember though I cashed out twice where I sent, and I'd wait till I'd get up 1,000 and then have them send me a check for 1,000 to take that off the table. And when I got the pass, both times it was DHL that delivered the envelope with the check in it, and the check both times, one was from Singapore, and I don't remember where the other one was from, but after that, I was like, okay, this is way too sketchy to be involved in. And plus, I was in school at the time, so I had time when I went back to flying for the Air Force. I wasn't going to have time for it anyway, so I got out of it. But the movie that was out there is called Runner Runner, which if you haven't seen it, there, Predator or Burner, it's worth watching. But the most probably interesting thing about it is they talk about specifically that because people consider that the online sites are rigged, they cheat, and it said actually the movie highlighted is all the sites have no incentive to cheat whatsoever. They have every incentive, just like a casino has every incentive to make sure every game is fair, because they already have the advantage. So why cheat when you already have the advantage and volunteers, people showing up to pay you for money? So anyhow, it's kind of crazy as far as that, but it did bring out the house side of it, if you will, and like you guys were saying earlier, but yeah, you want to be the house on these things. That's what you're doing when you're selling options too. Is you're the house, right? You want to be the insurance company, if you will. So okay, so we talked about the three names. TSG has gone away. Bets at the bottom left. I don't think I have anything in that. I know of it, but I don't think I bought anything. I'd rather hold the individual names. And then blackjack, that's a theme that I've had for a while. I got out of it when COVID-19 hit, because that was going to be an obvious loser. Don't think I'm back into any of it yet, and not all that excited about it. I'd much rather take advantage of the online stuff, which is where you get that explosive growth, especially if COVID continues, second wave, third wave, fourth wave on into the future, or a mutant strain or whatever it is. Okay, so before we take a look at you can go ahead and go over to the short-term tabs. Just looking, just reviewing for you, the Dow and the futures are barely in the green, so that's nice. The Nasdaq's up almost 0.5%, so starting to get some positivity as we go in here. Okay, some names I had to take a look at. Let's put HAL. They were out with earnings this morning. They beat earnings, but the revenue was down, so they're actually gapping up from 13 to 13.9. So that's, don't see the percentage up there, but that's okay. A decent percent that they're gapping up. So we shall see. Go ahead and back out the chart on Halliburton if you can, just to see how high it used to be. Okay, back in March, it was up to 17. So it largely has not recovered a whole lot. This would take it to kind of, if it got over 14, would take it to a kind of a post-COVID high, if you will. Okay, and then IBM before earnings. Let's take a look if they're in motion at all. There's pretty significant optimism that IBM might actually beat earnings for once in its life, its recent life, I should say. But no movement there. So it's another thing we'll just circle back on. Okay, and let's go around the world. First of all, I see Amazon popping up. So again, Amazon on the upgrade, we'll pull that up. So closed at 29.61, gapping up to around 305 on average there or so. So we'll see the numbers on that here in a little bit. All right, $10 stop. Yeah, it's kind of, that's tough, right? It's very tough at the higher level to pick that. And it does have the volume, so already 100,000 shares. So we shall see how that works as well. Okay, let's look off to the tab. AstraZeneca is popping on the news, just a 2% or so, but they're one of the first ones going to clinical trials. I saw that headline this morning, so that's one to keep an eye on. AZN. Moderna's on the way down due to that downgrade, but nothing's really changed, so I wouldn't necessarily touch that. Noble Energy, that's up 10%. It's an all-stock deal, so it doesn't have more room to run, in my opinion. Nikola, even though it dropped, dropped 20%. That's kind of matching it up with where the price that the new shares are issued at 40. So I don't think you'll see too much of a sell-off there to the downside. I wouldn't touch that one either. But we'll keep an eye on it. I'll put it in the, if you touch it, you would touch it short for sure. All right, and let's look at the next tab. BNTX, let's pull that up. That's the BioNTech. They're part of the Operation Warp Speed with Pfizer and others that they have, again, a vaccine out. They got a positive headline this weekend. See if I can tease it out. Okay, initial data there at the bottom that they're running into some success. So 85 up to 93. That's one we'll keep a look at. Alibaba up 4%. We kind of talked about that. Amazon 1.5%. So all that one's up. Tesla 1,500, moving up a little bit. All right, let's take a look at the decliners. We talked about Nikola and Moderna. The other stuff is all pretty low volume, all the way down to Netflix at 50,000, but again, it's hardly moving. So I think the market is setting up for a pretty decent green day today, so we shall see. It might be tough to find a short. The only thing I have, Nikola, and we can look at mRNA, but I would not take it short here. All right, next tab. DQ is not Dairy Queen, it's Daco New Energy Corp. There's Halliburton up 6%, so that's setting up for that long situation. So plus 6% on earnings, even though they guided down. It does have the volume. There's Pfizer down. I would probably like Pfizer better than BioNTech just because it's an American name. Pfizer and Alibaba long. It does kind of seem from everybody's talking that we are getting closer and closer to that vaccine. So I could see all of them moving up. Baba, that's the Ant Financial spinoff. I don't think it's got enough really for a day trade there. Churchill Cap Corp. Click on, I don't know what that is. See if we can tease this out. Merger talks with Top Golf. Click on that. See if you can click on that if it brings that up. There we go. All right, so you see some words down there at the bottom. Top Golf International, U.S. Golf Center Operator Public. This is definitely something I need to dig into. So if I'm reading this right, I'm seeing that the Churchill Capital Corp is what a blank check company, which is a special special purpose acquisition corp like DIAC was and like Lincadia Holdings, is with Topgolf International to take it public. That would be huge. We'll be getting in on that. Topgolf, SPAC, long. May try that as the long today. See if let's see what does it have. Yeah, word's getting out. The up 3%, 300,000 shares. I think we'll see that long today. All right, so that's my long, what I'm going with. Okay, and then let's look at the last tab. There's your BioNTech 10% plus. Noble Energy off the merger. I think that's done for the day. Double click on Vaccinex. I can't remember if that's a name we've talked about at all. I don't think we have. It's been VNAX that we've been talking about. So that's gapping up 8 to 855, up 7%. Has the volume. Oh, we can keep an eye on it. All right, Invax is down there at the bottom, gapping up 5%. Fluid Dime. We can click on that. I don't know what that is. Appears maybe a testing company out there. We shall see. I'm not going to touch it. All right, nothing else is jumping out at me off of the chart. All right, let's go ahead and set up our big screen, get ready for the open. We have 3 minutes basically to do so. All right, we'll take Amazon on the left. We'll put MRNA in the middle, and then we'll put CCX long to the right. And I will set up my trade. CCX long. See, 10% stop. I would need at least 10 cents. Jumped pretty good. It's been selling off, so I need to kind of give it probably 20 cents. Does it have a 60% move, 60 cent move up to 12? It does. All right, so I will take CCX long, CCX, right? Yep. Long, we use a 20-cent stop. In at open, out at 15. Review that before I hit send, and then send. All right, there's my trade in there. Let's look at MRNA short, 50-cent stop in at 2 out of 5. So there it is, backing up nicely for you. You don't mind that move before you take something short. 50-cent stop. Does it have a $1.50 in it? Absolutely. If it opened up at 88, that would be down to 86.50. That'd be easy. All right, so that trade seems structured well. Let's see what's going on with Amazon. So it looks a lot, but that's only $7, that recent little drop there. And then up from its pre-market high, it's $12, $13. So yeah, you could, $10 is probably fine. 12, 13 maybe if you wanted to cover down to where the pencil is there, 29.86 or so. So I don't know. We shall see. All right, and then we looked at my trade again. I'm looking for CCX long on the release that's actually a special purpose acquisition company to bring Topgolf. That's a heck of a compelling story. So I think it'll see some pretty positive action here. All right, 1 minute to the open. All right, we are back and good to go. Overall, you can see the SPY on the left, not a whole lot of movement. It's kind of settled down. So again, I think what we'll see out of the SPY is a slow move, slow move higher here out of the open, which will obviously help the longs and work against the short. So yep, runner, burner one, you got that right. It was tax day, April 15th. If you weren't listening at the time, April 15th, 2011 was the actual day that the poker stars went down with full tilt and all that. All right, I think I'm the only one in at the open. Did I put open? I think I did. So all right, we'll mark me there at 11:42. My stop is 20 cents, so 11:22. Yeah, you can just put it down there. I like it. All right. And then it's moved up in the green. Pretty low volume, and I think that's what we'll see is volume is probably, I'll be surprised to see a big rush in, but I think we'll see some volume in that. All right, setting up at the 1 minute entry point for long for Amazon. So we'll check that. We have 12 seconds to go before the Amazon long. So that's a tough entry. I would certainly not take it long right there if you weren't in it already there into Amazon, just because that huge move up on volume. All right, so there's the entry point, 3012, or yeah, 3012. Call it 25. Yep, that works. So $10 stop to the downside is 302 and change. 3002, excuse me, and change. Get that drawn in for you. I do like the way Moderna's setting up for a short. You see those long dojis up higher, so that means it is keeps touching new highs and then selling back off. So we'll get your entry point in here about 20 seconds or so. Market looks like it's striping up pretty good. Gotta like that action. Dow's basically even. NASDAQ up at 0.45. S&P is up 0.13 right now. I think you're getting a heck of an entry on mRNA. There you go. Nice entry. All right. 90.49. And it was a 50-cent stop. So 90.99. There you go. I think that was a great entry. You're going to, you might have 3 hours in this trade by the end of this minute. So math in my head, 90, let's call it 90.50. So a buck down, $1.50 would be 89 would be your 3-hour trade. So yeah, there's your 3 hours. Boom, boom in a minute. That is the beautiful entry that you're looking for. And again, you'd be out of that trade, but we'll let it cook here for a little bit. But nice shot. I like that. Updating CCX. It just had a big move down. I bet it's got a big bid ask spread as well. So I'm currently in the red on my trade. Not too worried about it though. I think it'll fill. All right, and then Amazon is in the green, so it's trucking higher, closing in on about half an hour, where it is right there. All right, so obviously the market, you see it off the left, is doing well. We can take my trade down off the right there. We'll come back to it. Let's take a look at a Halliburton long. So probably not enough to be able to hop into a trade on that for it to go in there. All right, we're up to 6R on the Moderna trade. Very nice. All right, let's put IBM off to the right. Again, this is anticipation of earnings. So not moving up a whole lot. I do expect to see a little more move up going into the earnings there. So let's see, we're approaching, that's about 8R on the Moderna trade. Very nice. Let's put AZN off to the right, which is the long. All right. Don't think that would have worked. All right, let's take a look at Nikola, NKLA short. Remember, it's down 20% already off that new release. So it's actually up from where it sold off. So yeah, it did have a kind of a nice setup there with a double top. I don't know. A lot of people were looking to get in this name, so I don't know if they'll get in at 40 or not. But I wouldn't touch that as far as a day trade, even though it looked good. Okay, let's talk BioNTech, which is BNTX. This would be a long. All right. Boy, if you caught it right at the open, 91 up a couple bucks. It's probably it's probably a 3-hour move right there, depending on where you put your stop. If it's a little bit of a dart throw, just take it there right at the open. But I do think that name probably continues higher, that and Pfizer, which will be the next one we look at. So PFE. Pfizer not getting any love. So yeah, where are we at with the R watch? So 90.5 down to 83.50 would be 7. 7 divided by 150, or 7 divided by 50, that's what, 14 R? Is that true? Did I do that right? $7 from 90.50 down to 83.50. $7, yeah, 14 Rs. Pretty good stuff. It just got stopped out. So it looks like Moderna stopped out, so you'll get it at the you were already out of the trade. Actually, you were going to be out of the trade right now. So you can go ahead and draw it up there. We'll see where it opens again. You will technically get the opening tick of the trade when it reopens, but it's such a blowout that I don't know. Don't be counting that free month chicken, so it's got to open again. So we'll see. But yeah, it certainly looks good. All right, Amazon's done for the day. It just ticked down below 3,000. So not enough steam there. You can kill Amazon and put in my trade CCX. Again, this is long. See how I'm doing. 1122, that is killed off as well. So we'll leave Moderna in the middle on the left there. Let's put Luckin, see what Luckin's got in it today. Down 3%. Almost not a bad day for Luckin. Okay, let's see. The other name that popped up, let's go on the left. Look at the overall market. That's a heck of a move down. I don't see anything on CNBC as far as headlines that brought it down that far, but we shall see. All right, we'll leave Luckin up there, and back on the right screen, we will check out LCA was up 10% pre-market. So dropped basically 50 cents and then made it all back. All right, let's look at BABA was up 3.5% pre-market on spinning off Ant. So it sold off some, about a percent from where it was. So probably some profit taking there. It has been on fire recently in spite of the China tensions. Let's see, CCX was mine. We'll put that check on it one more time. All right, some of that's going in my portfolio today for the long-term theme. Expect to see it show up. And then the vaccine name, BCNX. Again, this was a long on vaccine news. It has dropped 40 cents, so that's not good. It's basically back to even. So, all right. So Moderna stopped trading. The other 2 trades have busted. Luckin trying to get its, look at that. Just talk about it and it moves up 3 cents. Trying to get its mojo back. Let's take a look at the chart screen and see what's going on in the other big names that are out there. All right, Clickstream up 5%, Neo up 5%. LCA is that Lancadia that we've talked about. MNRL, Brigham Minerals here in Austin. Eli is the golf name, Callaway. BABA we talked about, DraftKings. Palo Alto Networks, again, best of breed cybersecurity. Sony, there's been a steady rise there from its PlayStation 5 release. All right, let's look at the red side and see what's in the red today. Nicola, 20% we talked about. Workhorse down 8%. Another name I want to take a look at. They have that U.S. Postal Service I was reading about this morning, that contract request for proposal in. that's almost a binary deal. If it hits, it's going to rage higher. If they don't get any piece of it, it's going to rage lower. So make sure you only have a small portion of that if you have it. Blink down 5%. That's run up pretty big recently. There's Luckin. Facebook off a little bit due to the Disney headline. BlackRock was up big. It never did touch 600. It got up to 585 was where it closed. So it's selling off a little bit off of the news on Friday from earnings. AT&T, again, troubled stock, huge dividend. They release earnings this week, and again, people are a little bit nervous that they aren't going to be able to pay their dividend. So, all right, we'll go back to the green. There we go. Let's put Workhorse in on the right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so there's Workhorse. We'll just kind of keep that up there while I start talking about some other things. Let me check the chat real quick. Yep, absolutely, be in the house. Okay, nothing to talk about there. Let's go ahead and bring up the Chrome, and we'll bring up the Wikipedia for online gaming. So when you think online gaming, I didn't realize that it had its hands in as many things as it does. We can scroll up and I'll tell you what I'm looking for, and then we'll slow down on that piece. Put poker up at the top there. So when you think forms of online gambling, which is what this is you have your online poker. So that's one piece of it. You also have casinos, which are I guess you play little little slot machine games, something like that. And congrats, Moderna did open up after its little 5-minute shutdown. It's continuing to sell off. So nice trade. Again, right around the 14R type move. So can't ask for more than that. Okay, back to our Wikipedia page here. You do have basic, blackjack and table nonsense that folks are addicted to. Sports betting. So again, this is really where it's seen its biggest push, in my opinion, is from sports. Mainstream sports are down. So you still have some other sports going out there. Like you could bet on, the funniest article I saw was you could bet when NASCAR had to leave the track, they went into simulators and they had this big, 8-person, think Dave and Buster's type 8 people in one race kind of thing. And you could bet on that. No kidding. It was kind of iRacing. Thank you. Kind of ridiculous. And the one guy got in trouble because he wore a onesie, a giraffe onesie or something like that. So whatever. But anyhow, basically the point was that you could bet on about anything out there. And now there's a lacrosse league, which DraftKings is a sponsor of. So how about that? How about those apples? Online bingo. It's not something that I think about. I tend to think that's even older than me as far as popularity. But people still play it. We actually have a bingo parlor here in Round Rock, which funds different booster clubs around town, like our band booster club. It's kind of crazy. Lotteries as well. I don't know to the extent that these guys are involved in a lottery, but certainly that's legal. And you know how it's getting more and more legalized as the states are looking for revenue. So, and then horse race betting, you know about that. And then mobile gaming, obviously, is how they do it. And then the last one I'll talk about is the in-play gaming, which is the wall and events going on. You can take basically endless number of prop bets as far as to who's getting, the next yellow card or whatever example they use there. In pro football, they have that, your quarter by quarter bets that you can get in on. So, all right, that's all I'll talk about there. It's again going to, in my opinion, it's an investable theme because it's going to increase in popularity. So that's why. Let's go ahead and look back up at the Think Pipes chart. I'll show you what Moderna is doing. Moderna is fallen another, I don't know, this is too many R's to count now. From 78.50 was kind of the low. So 12R, so 50 cents, that's 24R. So pretty impressive trade. So, all right, that's all I've got for you guys today. I'll let you go a little bit early. Again, taking a look at CCX long and loading up on that for a good entry. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.